Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today we're going to talk about what to do if you get that error message saying that your database is in an unrecognized format or it's in an inconsistent state. There's a couple of different errors that mean the same thing. We'll talk about what causes that and how to fix it, hopefully. This is one that comes up in my forums every now and then, maybe once a month or so, or someone posts a comment in one of my YouTube channel videos. And basically error 3443 pops up and it says unrecognized database format, or Access has detected that the database is in an inconsistent state. And what does this mean? Well, basically Access tried to load your database and it's looking at it going, I got no idea what this thing is. It's like if you tried to open up a Word document and it wasn't a Word document. Word would go, can't do it. So essentially your database file is most likely corrupted. Now, although this can happen with any database file, even a local one, it generally occurs on networked databases with an Access backend file. It usually happens if one or more of the users exit the database improperly. They don't do a proper shutdown. Maybe their computer locks up, right? And if Access is in the middle of writing to that networked shared database file when this happens, bam, it's going to corrupt it. I had this happen to one of my clients years ago. I set him up with an Access solution over his network. He had like 15 people working on it, and there was a building-wide power outage. Everybody went out. And everybody crashed. And it took me a little while to repair that database. Moral of the story there, too, is make sure all your people have uninterruptible power supplies. They're cheap. You can get them for like $50. Put them on all your computers. That way, if something happens and the power goes out, your database doesn't go down. But any one of those people not talking to the database the right way can cause it to corrupt. And Access is unfortunately not as forgiving as a database server like SQL Server would be. So how do we fix it? Well, first thing is backup, backup, and backup again. I always preach backing up. You should be running a nightly backup at a minimum. Okay? Back up your database, back up all your files, back up your grandma's recipe, all that stuff. Okay? If you don't know how to run a backup, and back up your Access database, go watch this video. I'll put a link to it down below. Now, the first thing you're going to try doing is running a compact and repair. Make sure everyone is out of the database. You're going to copy that backend file down to your local workstation and then do the compact and repair there. Don't try to do the compact and repair over the network. You're just asking for troubles to creep in there. Okay? Then once it's done, it'll also run faster. Then once it's done, copy it back up to the server. Now, if somehow you're not able to open it, if you try to open that database file and Access still gives you the error message and it won't let you even get to the compact and repair menu, you can do this from a command prompt. I would recommend, see if msaccess.exe is in your path. If it's not, just copy your database file to the msaccess.exe folder in your Office folder. Right? Or type in the full path to msaccess.exe. It's up to you. This is a Windows command line thing, right? msaccess.exe, and then in quotes, the name of your database with the full path, and then /compact, and that will compact it without opening it first. All right? That might do it if you can't get into the file. If you don't know how to compact and repair your database, go watch this video. Again, I'll put a link down below. Next up, after compacting, repairing, if there is still an LACCDB file sitting in your backend folder, delete it. Make sure everyone's out of the database again. You can delete it. That file just stores record locking information. You don't need it. Access normally creates and deletes it when it opens and closes. You'll have one for your front end on your local machine, and you'll have one on your server in your database folder. Okay, and again, make sure everyone's out of the database, and you can feel free to delete that. Sometimes, if that gets corrupted, it can also cause problems. Make sure you have the newest version of Access. And if you're not running the newest version of Access, of course, I recommend a Microsoft 365 subscription so you always constantly have the latest and greatest. But I know not every company does that. You might be running, Access 2013, 2016, 2021, whatever, that's fine. Just make sure that everyone has the same version. You don't want to have some people with Access 2007 and some people with Access 2016. That can cause problems. Especially if the person designing the database has a newer version. Like, let's say you have a 365 subscription, you get the latest and greatest. Someone else in accounting is still using, Office 2016. You can cause issues that way. So make sure everyone using the database has the same version of Access. If you push an Office update, make sure everyone gets the update. All right, next one. This is a weird one. Try moving the database, the back-end database file, to a different folder. I know, it's weird, but sometimes it works. There's all kinds of weird, quirky things that I've done over the past 30 years of working with Access that have fixed it inexplicably. I don't know why, but it works, right? It's like you go to the doctor, he says, well, it hurts when I raise my arm this way. He says, well, don't raise your arm that way, right? So if your database was in, for example, X database, try moving it to X new database. Put the database in that folder, relink it, see if the problem goes away. If it does, you can thank me later. If it doesn't, well, on to the next one. If that still doesn't work, try creating a blank new database file. Okay, file new, blank database. And then import all of the tables from the corrupted file if you can. All right, sometimes the database shell itself gets corrupted, right? The container that holds all the objects. And by creating a blank new database file and just importing all the tables, then that sometimes fixes it too. Okay, give that a try. Here's another weird one. Make sure your backend file name is short with no spaces. I know, again, it's weird, but I've seen this work. Right, you got a big long, X path to database super whatever, right? There's some kind of limitation in there with 32 character path and file names. Again, I don't know why, but it just seems to fix it sometimes. This isn't gospel. It's just stuff that I've done in the past that has worked. All right, try that for your database. A real short path and folder, no spaces, and a real short backend file name. Keep it short, keep it simple. Keep it secret, keep it safe. Okay?
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
All right, next up, check your server for disk errors. Go to the machine that's your actual server, and I realize a lot of you don't have actual servers. You've got a computer that's acting like a server. That's the machine I'm telling you should test, okay? And it's part of Windows. Just go to the drive, right-click, Properties, go to Tools, and there's the error checking option. Let that run, right? Scan disk, check disk, whatever they call it today. Check for errors. Believe it or not, hard drives have a finite lifetime, right? 3 to 5 years, right? After that, you got a 10-year-old hard drive. A lot of people take their old machine that no one else is using anymore and turn that into a file server. That's a bad idea. You want your newest, best machine to be your file server, okay, or your database server. That's where all the important stuff is, right? Don't just use some old machine in a closet for your server. But check it, because if your drive is starting to go corrupt, they usually start to show signs that they're starting to go, right? And when that happens, you start getting bad sectors on the disk, and that's what this will check and make sure. If you got any bad sectors, get rid of it. Put a new hard drive in there, get a new machine, whatever. How important is this database for your business? That's how much you should spend on a good server, right? And while you're at it, make sure that the drive compression is off. Okay, Windows can compress drives, kind of like it turns the entire disk into one big zip file. But that compression, every time it reads and writes information, it's got to compress and decompress on the fly. And it will slow things down, so it might make your database run slower, but you're also opening yourself up to an additional possibility for corruption there too. Okay, it's just another layer of stuff you don't need to worry about. Also, check your network for errors. All right, if you got a slow network with lots of latency, that could cause problems too, because again, Access, if you're using an Access backend, it's not as forgiving as an actual database server, like SQL Server would be. So every machine has to be able to reliably read and write to that database file. Otherwise, you're going to get corruption. Okay, so I recommend Fing Network. What's it called? There it is. Fing Network Monitor. I've been running this for years. Does a good job. It constantly takes keeps an eye on your network. It's got security issues, but it'll let you know if there's any kind of read-write problems going on. Okay, and no, I'm not affiliated with them. I don't get any compensation. This is just something I've used myself. I like this product. I recommend it. I'll put a link to them down below too. I will always tell you if I'm an affiliate, if I get a commission or whatever if you purchase a product that I recommend. And I only recommend products that I use personally. All right, I will never just steer you to a particular product because I'm getting paid. I don't do that. I don't need to do that. Oh, and one more thing. Don't run your Access database over a wireless network. I don't recommend it. You got any kind of drop packets in there or increased latency that can cause problems reading and writing. If you got a database server, okay, you could get away with that. But use a wired network for an Access database. Okay, just trust me. Can it be done over wireless? Yeah, I've done it myself. I don't recommend it. You got to have a really, really fast network and really good, solid connections between all the points. It's like don't use Google Drive or Dropbox for your Access files. Just don't. Just don't do it. All right, next up, check the size of your database backend file. All right, if you only got one of them, take a look at it. How big is it? There's a 2 gigabyte limit per file. Realistically, I say if you get to 1 gigabyte, you might want to start thinking about splitting it into multiple backends. You can do this, and actually I have a video coming up on this soon. This question comes up a lot. I'll show you how to take one backend file and split it into multiple backends. You basically just put different tables in different files, that's all. And then you just link to them separately. It's not hard to do. Here's a video I've got on splitting your database. And check this page. When I finish the other one, I'll put a link to that one on there as well. And you can have almost as many backends as you want. I've got probably 15 different backends for my one database. Next up, check to make sure you have enough free disk space. You should have at least twice the size of your database file as free space. All right, so if you got a 1 gigabyte database file, you should have at least a minimum of 2 gigabytes free. Access does a lot of reading and writing, and there's temporary files, all kinds of stuff that goes on. And that database file will grow and shrink and grow and shrink. When you compact it, it gets smaller, and as you use it, it blows up. So make sure you got plenty of free space available in the drive. I would say don't have less than 5 gigabytes of free space in there. That's just, a safe, realistic number. If you get to this point and it still doesn't fix the problem, go run down my troubleshooter. I've got a lot of stuff on my troubleshooter on my website that covers steps that you might not think of covering, but some of the weirdest things can help the database if you got a problem. Restart Access, restart Windows, decompile the database. There's instructions for that on there. Restore one of your backups and see if that works. Roll back Windows updates and Office updates. Again, there's instructions for that in the troubleshooter. Okay, so check that out. You'll find the troubleshooter. It's on my website. There's the link. Again, I'll put a link to it down below. It's free. And I was just looking at this picture. I've been using ChatGPT to give me images for these slides lately. And I just noticed why these people in this video are having so much trouble. Do you see it? Do you see what the problem is? Here, I'll zoom in a little more. How about now? You see it now? I kid. I pick on Apple users. I kid. My number one man is an Apple guy, Alex. But anyways, if you find yourself having consistent backend problems and you have a lot of users, you might want to consider upgrading to SQL Server. Now, the maximum theoretical number of people you can have connected to an Access backend database is 255. That is laughable, okay? That's the maximum theoretical number. There's no way that's going to work. Realistically, I wouldn't have more than 15 to 20 people using Access at the same time. I have set up networks with 20, 30 users, but it was situations where, maybe 5 to 10 people would be using it at any one given moment, right? Maybe the guys in shipping only did it when they got orders in, or they received shipments, or maybe the people in accounting only use it once a week to do report. Not everybody was using it at the same time. If you got more than, I'd say, 15, 20 simultaneous users, now it's time to upgrade to SQL Server. SQL Server Express is free. It does a much better job of handling lots of users. It does a much better job of keeping your database from getting corrupted, okay? There is a little more setup time involved, but it's a much more professional, much more secure database solution too. Okay? There's no user limitation on the free version, but it does have a 10 gigabyte database size, which if you're using Access now and you've got a 2 gigabyte limit, unless you've got lots of backend files, 10 gigs should be just fine for you. I do have a seminar right now that covers setting up Access with SQL Server online. That's where you have it at an internet provider. I like the online version for a few reasons. One, someone else sets up and maintains the server for you. They handle all the bug fixes and the patching and the upgrades and the security. All you have to do is upload your data and work with the database. Plus, if it's online, people in different locations can access your database. You just give them your Access front end and they can connect wherever they happen to be, on the road or whatever. This is what I use. I am working on a second seminar to cover installing SQL Server Express locally on premises. That'll be out soon. But in the meantime, check this one out. Again, I'll put a link down below. Now, a couple of years ago, I just have to mention this in this video because a couple of years ago, there was a big problem going back to like 2020. It's currently 2024. I have to say that in every video. Users with Windows 10 especially were getting tons and tons of problems with databases in an inconsistent state or with the unrecognized database format error. Microsoft has a whole page on it. I'll put a link to that down below. Looks like they haven't updated it since 2020, so about 4 years now. Daniel over at DevHut did a big article on it. There's a link there again. I'll put a link down below. Now, fortunately, I don't see any comments on his article on his page since 2022. So it sounds like Microsoft fixed this with an Office update. There was a registry hack you could implement before, and that seemed to fix it. But apparently, it seems to have gone away in the last 2 years. So if you get it now, it's probably just a general unrecognized error because your database got corrupt. It's not the specific bug. But I just wanted to bring this up because I remember a couple years ago, this was a big deal. Okay, so check out his article if you want to learn more about that one. And finally, there are some third-party recovery software and services out there. I have not used any of them in at least 10 years now. So I'm kind of out of the loop on the different types of recovery software that's out there. And there are some services that will that they claim to repair your database. I'm going to say maybe 10, 15 years ago, I had a client that I recommended a solution to, and it worked for him. I honestly tried finding the emails. I can't recall offhand who it was. So if you have a recovery software or service provider that you recommend, I want to hear from you. Post your comments down below, and I'll check out some of the third-party companies that offer services to recover an Access database that you can't fix with compact and repair. I've only had to do this once in my entire career. Unfortunately, they were able to get them working. But I haven't heard from this company in a long time either. I would recognize them if I saw them. We're going back. In fact, I think it was long enough ago where it was an MDB file. So we might be going back more than 15 years ago. But yeah, post down below if you know of anyone that does this, and I'll check them out and maybe make a second video on it. But the good news is that I haven't needed this. I haven't needed to recommend this for anybody in the last 10, 15 years. So Access has gotten much, much better at natively fixing problems with the built-in compact and repair. And of course, if you're running your nightly backups, if your database does corrupt, well, you can always roll back to last night's backup and try to figure out what data was changed in the meantime. I've had to do that a couple times myself. So, all right, so that's it. That's what to do if you got the unrecognized database format error. I hope this helped someone. I hope you learned something today, folks. That's going to be your tech help video. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have below. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Want to learn more? Click the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. YouTube does a pretty good job of hiding it. It's right down there. See this part of the description here, right? The name, the video's up here. There's a little Show More down there, right down the bottom. It's kind of hard to find. But once you click on that, you'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. And YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted like they used to do. But if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link to join my mailing list. And you can pick how frequently to get emails from me, either as they happen, daily, weekly, or monthly. Now, if you'd like to become a paid member of my channel and receive all kinds of awesome perks, click on the Join button. You'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks including my extended cut videos, access to my code vault, lots of VBA source code in there, template downloads, and lots more. I'll talk more about these perks at the end of the video. Even if you don't want to commit to becoming a paid member and you'd like to help support my work, please feel free to click on the tip jar link. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got some puppies to feed. But don't worry, no matter what, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you really want to learn Access and you haven't tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, and more. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? The whole thing, free, 4 hours. Go watch it. And okay, a lot of you have told me that you don't have time to sit through a 4-hour course. So I do now have a quicker Microsoft Access for Beginners video that covers all the basics faster in about 30 minutes. And no, I didn't just put the video on fast forward. But I'll put a link to this down below as well. Now, if you like level 1, level 2 is just $1. That's it, $1. And that's another whole 90-minute course. Level 2 is also free for paid members of any level, including supporters. So if you're a member, go watch level 2. It's free. Okay, want to get your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page and send me your question there. Members get priority, of course. While I do try to read and respond to all of the comments posted below in the comments section, I only have time to go through them briefly a couple of times a month, and sometimes I get thousands of them. So send me your question here on the tech help page, and you'll have a better chance of getting it answered. And while you're on my website, be sure to stop by my Access forum. We've got lots of lively conversations about Microsoft Access and other topics. I have a fantastic group of moderators who help me answer questions. Shout out to Alex, Kevin, Scott, Adam, John, Dan, Juan, and everybody else who helps out on the site. I appreciate everything you do. I couldn't do it without you. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Yeah, I'm on Facebook too, but I don't like Facebook. Don't get me started. Now, let's talk more about those member perks if you do decide to join as a paid member. There are different levels: Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Diamond. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class every month, and some other perks. Gold members get all the previous perks, plus access to download the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions that I use, the code that I build in most of the videos. You'll also get higher priority if you do submit any tech help questions. Now, answers are never guaranteed, but you do go higher in the list for me to read them. And if I like your question, you got a good chance of it being answered. You'll also get one free expert level class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks plus even higher priority for tech help questions. You get access to all of my full beginner level courses for every subject. And I cover lots of different subjects like Word, Excel, VBA, ASP, lots of different stuff, not just Access. These are the full-length courses found on my website. You get all the beginner ones. In addition, once you finish the expert classes, you get one free developer class per month. So lots of training. And finally, you can also become a Diamond sponsor. You'll have your name or your company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown on each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you again soon.